Hey guys, Dr. Israel here for lecture number 5, taking you guys through the trainer-client relationship. Now, sort of cautionary advance here is that I'm going to be breezing through this particular lecture a little bit more quickly because it kind of just, it looks like I talk anyway, it reads just like I talk, so I don't want to just blab off the slides. So I'll try to take some important points off every slide. And you guys, because you'll have all these slides in Excel format, can literally just click right through everything and it looks just like I'm talking, and that should provide you with a lot better detail about everything. So, let's take a look at this. Trainer-client relationship. Here's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about recruiting clients, how to get clients to come train with you, not much of a personal trainer without them, how to basically approach your relationship with a client. Are you a hardcore motivator? Are you a drill sergeant? Or is there maybe a better way to deal with clients that is more successful and effective in the long term? Some coaching tips on how to coach techniques. How to be a good motivator, and we're going to chat a little bit about motivation. How to track your client's progress and give them feedback as to where they are with relationship to their goals. And lastly, a quick chat about legal issues so that you don't get yourself into any sort of unnecessary trouble. So let's take a look, and again, just to reemphasize, we're breezing this through a bit quickly, so I really encourage you guys to take a look at this on your own time in the actual PowerPoint, slowly get through everything, and it really, it reads just like I talk anyway, so it should provide you with a good bit more detail. Recruiting clients. So it depends really highly on the situation. Sometimes you get clients recruited for you. Most of the time you have at least some hand in recruiting clients. When you're starting out, you really want to train people for free or for cheap. Friends, family, especially because first of all, they can give you good referrals, and second of all, it's good practice for you on people that you already have your trust, and it's a very good start, a very good way to become better at what you do. All right? Now, the process here is publicize the results of your clients, particularly on social media nowadays, and then raise rates as new clients inquire. So for example, when you start training, you might train your sister, your mom, your Aunt Susan, and the family dog. Just kidding, I'm not sure how you train the dog, but you might train one of your friends. And one or two of those people are really going to give you a good hard effort. They're going to get really lean, and you might have some pictures of them before and after, you know, lost 30 pounds or something like that. And people are going to inquire, wow, and maybe Aunt Susan was the one that did that. And now 2 or 3 people from her work in the office are saying, hey, listen, how'd you do that? And she says, oh, you know, my nephew trained me. And then they inquire you and say, hey, how does this all work? Now, do you have to train them for free? Absolutely not. You can charge them a little bit more. You're not going to charge them a ton yet because they're your first clients. You definitely want them to sign up. You don't want them to get discouraged by the price. You don't have a ton of experience yet, maybe not a ton of certifications, so you charge very little. As you succeed more and more, you publicize the results more and more, slowly your rates go up, and eventually you're making the big bucks. So really the formula is results and advertisement equal more clients. Now it says not excessive. Only put up really impressive results of your clients. If you put up all results of your clients all the time, people are going to say, you know, I'm not really sure. And the only reason we are being, it almost sounds like we're not being truthful. We're being very truthful because you're competing against other people who only put out the best results. Even if professional bodybuilders put out what they look like all the time in the off season, people would be like, wow, they don't look that great. So you got to put your best foot forward, and you can't inundate people. And that's really what we mean by excessive. If you have a post on your personal training Facebook page every day, hey guys, here are my results, come train with me. Hey guys, good morning, come train with me. People are going to unfollow your page really, really quickly. When you have something good to show, you post it. And then all of a sudden people are like, wow, first of all, that's not annoying. That personal training page only pops up every now and again. And also they've always got good stuff going on. I wonder if maybe I could work with them too. So another big thing, client recruitment takes time. You don't just poof end up with 80 clients, all right? Sometimes you'll have 1 client for 6 months. Then you might have 5 clients, 10 clients, etc., etc., etc. So don't worry about recruiting clients. Do a great job, advertise, and that's how the clients will appear. It takes a long time. It takes years. All right, so in the trainer-client relationship, when clients come to you, they come with a couple of basic average psychological characteristics. So the clients are usually out of their element, they're apprehensive, they see you in an authoritative light, and they're really kind of embarrassed about being in the gym. It's a scary place for them. That's why they hired you to guide them through. The best trainers, on the other hand, calm and comfortable. They're very welcoming. Their approach is, come, let's get fit together, not I'm going to beat you down and you're going to suffer, and nobody signs up for that kind of stuff. They're very supportive, and what they do, number one, is they encourage their clients through a welcoming, supportive psychology to push themselves ever so slightly out of their comfort zone. A couple of pushes out of the comfort zone isn't going to accomplish much. You keep pushing that client just a bit out of their comfort zone every single day for weeks and weeks, they're going to get into really good shape. That's your job right here. Now, another way to state that is your job is to hurt people. Pushing people out of their comfort zone literally hurts, all right? You do that for a living. So every now and again, pretty regularly, clients will complain. Clients will freak out. They will quit mid-set, and they'll get frustrated trying to learn the techniques you teach them. So what do you do about when this happens? Well, your motto as a trainer should be, it's okay. So when your clients freak out, the first thing you look at them and you communicate that it's okay attitude. So when the clients freak out or quit, you want to gently smile possibly. You want to be very calm and supportive. You don't want to freak out. You want to let them know that they're okay and the pain is expected. Now, of course, if something snaps or crackles or pops and the pain's not okay, you still have that gentle approach, but you have to take a couple of steps to see if it's a situation that requires medical intervention or calling 911 or something like that. But almost never is that the case. Usually clients freak out just because their quads have accumulated some lactate, or their chest really hurts because they've been doing bench presses. That's number one for why clients quit mid-set, not because they've popped a pec off the bone, which almost never happens. So you have to let them know that it's okay and that you literally, pain is expected. That's why we're here, is for the pain. If you weren't hurting, I'd be ripping you off. So when they freak out and quit on you, you allow them to rest for a little bit, then you slowly welcome them back in. You reinforce the right technique and say, all right, let's come back in and try this again. Remember to arch that back and everything will be just fine. And that's how it works. Every motivational film you've seen, on the contrary, Rocky movies, all this stuff is BS. Forget about it, all right? You don't guilt trip people or have this emotional drama to motivate them in the long term, all right? So when clients reach their breaking point, there is no crazy realization about how they have to win that boxing match. That doesn't happen, all right? You want to let them rest and bring them back in slowly and let them know that it's okay to push it, and it's okay to fail, and it's okay to experience pain. They didn't disappoint you by getting 9 reps instead of the 10 you predicted. They pushed it all the way, which is great. No problem. We're in here training. Everything's all good to begin with. So long as you're not at home sitting there eating donuts, we're already winning to a very large extent. So you can remind them that all this training stuff is very safe and in a controlled environment, and you welcome them back in to pushing towards their goal. Not guilt-tripping and saying, you're pathetic, how dare you quit. You say, no worries at all about quitting, but hey, let's give it another shot. And they say, well, maybe, it doesn't seem like it's that bad. And the answer is, it's not that bad, you just got to try it a bit more, and success is right around the corner. So, getting clients pumped, on the other hand, is okay. It's okay to get in their face, maybe swear a little bit if you're comfortable with that, and the client's comfortable with that in that relationship you've built, but you usually save that for mid-set and towards the end of really hardcore sets. So as those sets are over, you got to be ready to reset. Be calm again. That saves your client's psychological energy. It reintroduces calm and pleasure into that experience, so they rest, they chat with you, and when they're ready to do another set, then it's business time. But if you're always super intense with your clients, they're just going to get so psychologically fatigued, they'll probably quit on you much more likely than they'll stick around. So, as far as coaching is concerned, all right, actually doing the exercises. Clients are unfamiliar with the techniques, and this is probably the biggest understatement of the entire course. They literally sometimes have no idea what a squat even is. Do a bench press. Do a bent over row. Well, I don't know, is that with your biceps? No, not really, all right? So they could be completely unfamiliar with the techniques, or at best have a cursory familiarity with them. Some of the clients that will hire you are poorly coordinated and slow learners. There's a reason they hired you to just go to the gym by themselves, right? If they're former D1 athletes, they probably know what to do back from their college days. They just get a membership and pump weights on their own. If they hired you, they might have a little bit of trouble catching on to how to move their bodies, which is totally okay, and that's why you're there to help them. The best trainers, profoundly familiar with the techniques. They know each exercise back to front, all right? They focus on the basics first, the most important technique tips to doing an exercise. If you have your back arch, chest up in a squat, and you're squatting to full depth, everything else is just details. If you focus on the details first, you're doing it all wrong. They don't overcoach, which means giving way too many tips. We'll talk about that in just a second. And they coach sequentially, which means they teach them fundamental basics first, then they move on to the more advanced tips, not the other way around. Last, but absolutely not least, the best personal trainers are super patient. Clients will come back in after 2 weeks of squatting. They'll be doing great. You just say, hey, squat, and they'll do a deadlift. And you go, oh my God, how did you forget? Well, they were at a legal issues conference all weekend, super stressed. Their boss maybe yelled at them, and they have no idea what's going on anymore. Training is probably the last thing they think about. It's the first thing you think about, though. So all you have to do is be very patient and go, no worries, we screwed that up a little bit. You show them how to squat again, and they go, duh, of course. They'll remember their techniques. You iron out the kinks, and then you have a great workout after that. Patience is critical. On the other hand, let's say you don't believe me. Fine, patience isn't that important. All right, go ahead and freak out on your clients. How good is that going to do? Well, they're going to be like, you know what, I don't need this, and they're going to leave. And you're not going to have a client anymore. Patience works every single time. Coaching tips. First of all, familiarity with technique. You must know the exercises very well to do a couple of things. Number one, keep clients safe. If you don't know how to coach a squat, client's going to round their back, they're going to get hurt, and then you've really, really failed at what you're trying to do. Number two is keep the movement effective. If they're trying to squat to get bigger legs, or more muscular legs, or sexier legs, and they end up doing the exercise in such a way that grows their lower back, they're just not going to be getting what they need out of squat. And very importantly, you have to know how to adjust the techniques to individual variations and needs. If you've done every kind of squat there is to do, you know that some clients are built better to do sumo squats and some clients are built better to do close stance squats. If you have no idea what either one of those is and you just know one squat, then there's going to be a problem there. So very, very technical, good trainers know how to adjust exercises to make sure they fit the client's particular physique and limitation. Never, ever, ever teach your client to do something that you're not very good at. If you're not very good at it and you want your clients to do it, you're going to have to get good at it first. Only then can you teach. This applies to almost everything in life, not just in personal training. So, some coaching tips for you guys. First, when you start out, basics first when teaching technique. The basics have to come first. First of all, teaching occurs through the whole lifespan of that client. You're not going to teach someone how to squat perfectly within 1 hour of training them. It's not going to happen. It's inherently a long journey. So the basics are learned first and emphasized almost exclusively for a long time, days and weeks, until they're really ingrained. Once the basics are ingrained, more advanced tips can be given, but only once the basics are ingrained. Remember, the advanced tips, just like in the nutritional priorities, are details. If you get the basics right, you're well on your way. If you don't get them right, not great things can happen. Do not confuse the basics and advanced tips. That's done all the time by not so great personal trainers, and it doesn't lead to good things. Right? A problem, so we have a lot to do, right? We have a lot to teach. Here's a problem called overcoaching. What is overcoaching? It's giving too many technique tips at the front end. So somebody's about to squat, and you say, all right, Jim, you want your shoulders back, you want your palms up, you want your feet out, you make sure your knees track with your feet, you want your hips back, you want your tummy out, chest up, you want to make sure you descend at the following pace, come up at the following pace, you want to use your head to rock back, throw your head back if you need to at the top to really save that lift if you roll over forward. You got it? Awesome, squat time. How much of that did Jim really catch? I don't know, I don't even remember half of what I said. Another problem, correcting techniques too frequently in the set. It's in the set. They're in lots of pain. They barely have any idea what's going on. They're not going to process technique corrections at a very high rate. You might be able to get away with only 1 or 2 technique corrections during the set. So if a personal trainer, while the client is squatting, is talking the entire time about what they should be doing better, they're not going to focus on squatting. They're going to be like, huh, what is it you're saying? And it never works. New techniques too often. All right, awesome. You finally, for the first time ever, showed me that you can pull off a good squat. Time to show you a sumo squat, or time to change the foot position, blah, blah, blah. Hold on a second. Let's get some ingrained technique first before we move on. Because, and we'll get to why it's bad, this stuff doesn't work in the long run. Number one, even the best athletes are learning slowly at first. And a lot of times in personal training, you're not dealing with the best athletes, so they learn super slowly. Too much info at any one time can be overwhelming to the point that not only are they not taking in the information you're telling them, they're not taking in any of the information because that too much information is overwhelming everything down to the fact that they're learning almost nothing at all. So if you give clients good basic tips during their squat and some of the advanced tips you shouldn't be, it's not like they're going to take the basics but not the advanced. If you give too many tips, they might not even get the basics either. And Oh, I guess I just said that. All right. So, how to coach sequentially. Sequential coaching is a way around overcoaching. Start with the basics first. For example, in the squat, you do blocking, you make sure you stay on your heels and full range of motion. 1 or 2 pointers right before the set begins. Hey, remember to keep your chest up and stay on your heels. Cool? Awesome. Let's do it. Lots of positive feedback, even when the basics are just okay. Remember, clients need confidence. They need feedback that they're doing some of the right things. So if their chest is up 7 out of the 10 reps, during the time you go, awesome, chest up, great, you're doing great. And if they feel like they're doing well, they're going to be more free psychologically to open up and try those techniques that you're telling them. If they feel like they're screwing up all the time, they're just going to ball up on themselves and they're not going to change their technique at all for you. 1 or 2 comments per set. Heels, heels, chest, that's it. Literally. If you start explaining the biomechanics of the squat during the set, you're going to fail miserably because it's too much information to handle with a heavy barbell on your back. And even when your clients are already doing them, remind them of the basics. How far does this go? We'll talk about this in a bit. Every single elite powerlifter that I know or have coached or is a friend of mine or I see on YouTube got some guy in the back just as good as he is or worse sometimes yelling basic stuff that guy should know. Like chest up, chest up, chest up, or heels, 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 stomach, stomach, stomach. You'll hear that in all these powerlifting videos. Oh, hold on a second, that guy's squatting 800 pounds. Don't you think he knows that? Yes, but under 800 pounds, you have a tendency to forget what your name is. So, and that bar will bend you how it wants you to bend, not how you want to go. And all of our technique tips go counter to where the bar wants to move you. So when your clients are under heavy loads, even when they've got their chest up and their back arched like they're supposed to, sometimes it's worth reminding them so that if they go, oh yeah, chest up, they won't round over on that next rep. They'll be like, yeah, chest up, and they'll have another good couple of reps, and then they have a very good set. Techniques need to be reminded of all the time. Now, once the basics are done very well, you slowly introduce the particulars, hand spacing, foot angles, over a very long time. Basics first, then the particulars over the months, weeks and months of coaching. All right. So, the biggest coaching tip I have for you guys is to be patient. Clients take a long time to learn the basics. Clients will forget techniques like we talked about earlier, and clients will get frustrated. So you as a coach should be calm and welcoming, should follow sequential coaching, basics to advanced, taking the time for them to ingrain all those things before you go on to the next, thus the sequence. And a good thing to say is, you know, if they had a flawed deadlift attempt, let's say they rounded their back a little bit, you say, oh, that was okay. On the next set, let's try really arching our back a bit more. All right? And then you try it, and hopefully you correct the technique and do better. Right? A reminder, technique learning is a never-ending process. Even elite powerlifters and bodybuilders have technique analyzed, videoed, they're always trying to improve. So it's pointless to expect your clients to get flawless technique all the time, even weeks down the road. So for more advanced clients, motivation and training intensity could be more of a focus rather than technique. When you're around them, you could be motivating them or other things, but for a long time, you want your clients to really focus on basic techniques, and that's just about the interaction you'll have with them when they're actually lifting or right before they go into their set. More advanced techniques can be taught once clients get to that level, not before. Now, technique reminders, even for the basics, should always be in the back burner, just like we talked about with those elite powerlifters in that example. Quick word on motivation. Good news, bad news kind of stuff coming up. So, the study, the formal scientific study of motivation in sports, and this is essentially a sporting endeavor, reveals a couple of things. First of all, we have a limited understanding of the processes. Motivation is relatively mysterious, but we know 2 things for sure. 1, motivation has a heavy genetic component. That is, some people are going to be more motivated than others, no matter what they do in every endeavor. Crazy, psychotic, super overproductive Harvard lawyer, very good chance that when you say, hey, do this diet, they're going to be like, boom, 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 and they're going to get everything done. But if you get a, trust fund baby approaching you, and, sort of, spring break's coming up, and trying to get in shape, and they're not the most motivated person ever genetically, they might not do that well for you. So understand that you can motivate clients to a certain extent, but a lot of it is in the hands of their genes. Additionally, even the non-genetic component is heavily intrinsic. Motivation comes from here. I should, as a scientist, say here because that's where the brain is. Just the heart only pumps blood. It doesn't actually have any emotions in it. but you guys understand what I'm saying. Motivation comes from inside the client almost exclusively. If a client doesn't want to eat their meals, if they don't want to show up to train, or if they want to sandbag that day, after all said and done, there's not much you're going to be able to do to help them. Now, you have a little bit of leeway. You could get them a good workout while they're there if they're ready to work for you. But a lot of it is really out of your hands. Clients come in motivated, or they come in otherwise. If it's otherwise, you're going to have a lot of problems. And don't feel guilty about it because it's out of your hands largely. I like a lot of trainers describe themselves as motivators. If you track their record of success, it's actually been quite poor. It turns out the motivation came with the client, not with the trainer. So, fact is, you won't be able to take a slouch and turn them into a diehard. It's just unbelievably rare because motivation is so much out of your hands. Now, you might be able to enhance in-session performance, which means that if a client is, same psycho Harvard lawyer that's accomplished everything in their field possible, comes back from a conference is just dead tired, you might be able to get under that lawyer's skin and give them an awesome workout with your motivational techniques, mostly through positive reinforcement, like, hey, Harvard lawyer, let's work today, what do you say? And they say, okay, you're much more muscular than me, and it's at least scary that you're yelling. You might get them a good workout, and they'll thank you for it afterwards. But as far as making life changes, you can't yell at them when they're at the conference eating donuts instead of their healthy whole grains. So motivation is mostly out of your hands, but you do have an ability to at least get them a good workout if they show up and are ready to train to some extent. Long-term motivation, from your perspective, is about keeping the process fun, challenging, and rewarding for your clients. They're going to have a good time because you're an awesome person when you're there. It's going to be challenging because you're going to push them to the limits. It's going to be rewarding because you're going to get them the result they want. If all those things are in place, they have no reason not to show up. Like, hey, do you want to skip your personal training session and come out and do something else? And be like, no, I like personal training, and I like the challenge, and I'm also getting leaner and more muscular all the time, so nope, I'm going to go personal training, but I'll see you right after. And their friends will go, okay. That's how it works. That's how you get clients to show up. That's how you get them to commit. Fun, challenging, and rewarding. Probably a good thing to remember. Tracking and feedback, really breezing through this. More on the technical side, you have to track progress for your clients for two reasons. One, you have to know what you're doing is working or which way you're going. And two, you got to have something to show for the client to say, look, we're doing a good job. Keeps them motivated, and it essentially demonstrates to them that you're delivering a good product to them. They're paying you for that actual result. So what do you track? Well, so first of all, you got to know where your client stands. You got to set realistic goals. Tracking is a big part of that. And you want to know when your goals are met so that you can at least say, hey, client, we did it. What's next, right? Reevaluate and you create your next goals. This is done by tracking, not just blindly being like, yeah, I think we lost enough fat. What do you say? Time to gain some muscle? It doesn't work like that. The more you track, the better the data you have, the more you can stay on track to your next goal. So the question is, when to track? You want to track PRs, basically how much muscle they have, how much weight they can lift for whatever sets and reps, once per mesocycle. So you write down their best efforts at the end of week 4, where they're really pushing it. You'll probably remember that from our training lecture. You write those down, and then a month later, when they're pushing it really hard again, you write those numbers down and say, oh, okay, we've improved in the squat, we've improved in the bench, so on and so forth. Body mass, you want to track at least twice a week. Twice a week is probably a really good figure. Any more than that, it gets to be a real pain for the client to have to weigh in all the time. Any less than that, and the fluctuations are going to the noise is going to cancel out the whole signal. So twice a week body mass tracking, you know if a client after a couple weeks is gaining or losing weight like they're supposed to. Percent fat with a skin fold caliper or whatever you can get your hands on, every several mesocycles or so. Skin fold calipers, good practitioner have a 3 to 4% error rate, which means that you can lose 10 pounds of fat in 1 month, and the calipers say you didn't lose anything just because of error. All right? So I'd be easy with the body fat stuff, but hey, if you want to get a skin fold for your clients at the beginning of a 4-month cutting phase and at the end, that's a real good idea. Any more frequently, and you're kind of playing with fire in that regard. Most importantly, listen to your client's goals and desires. They are the ones in charge. All right? All training that you do is tailored to what the client wants because that's literally why you're there, and especially in the long term. Now, you can guide their goals through a scientific or realistic filter. Say somebody says, hey, my best squat's 400 pounds, and in a year I want to squat 600. You say, okay, that would be remarkable, and almost no one's ever done that. Of course, you might not be as forward about saying that, but you have to say, listen, how about we get you 50 pounds in your squat within a year, and then we'll see how we're doing. And you sort of phrase it as, in a way that says, hey, maybe that's not realistic, and they say, all right, well, let's go with your plan and we'll see how we're doing, and they're probably going to be happy with the results. So don't let clients get away with saying, hey, I want to do this, and you say, okay, set yourself up for failure. If it's not a realistic goal, let them know. They'll thank you for it. In the end, together you come up with realistic goals for your clients, you track progress, you reach your goals, you get the results they want, and everybody's happy, right? It works out really, really well if you put in all this work. Lastly, some legal stuff. Really basic. If money is changing hands, if you're training people for free, yeah, I'm not really so much, I'm not a legal expert, but if you're training people for free, I'm not so sure they can sue you for a whole lot. So if money is changing hands, especially in a formal gym setting, do not train anyone without a signed waiver. Waivers are available online. Type in personal training waiver on Google. There are like 80 templates that come up on the first page, and they're all pretty good. If you have any lawyer friends, which we kind of all do, just have them look at it really quick, and they'll say, yeah, that looks pretty good. That's it. That's what I did for a long time in my own personal training practice. Gyms often have a lot of waivers. If you work for 24-hour fitness, they won't ever give you a client before that client signs like 8 waivers before you even see them. So you're good if you work in a formal gym setting. Now, real big info here, a waiver is not total insurance. If you essentially perform malpractice and you do something really, really stupid, it's inadvised, let's say a client squats 100 pounds for a max and you decide to have them put 400 pounds on the bar, and you text somebody while they're squatting and they crush themselves in half, you're still very much liable, and you'll probably pay dearly for that, as well you should, because you're doing a terrible job. But a waiver is a really good start in an unfortunate legal battle if you get into that. If your practices are scientific and safe, and you have a waiver, what's going to happen more than likely is when you get to court, they're going to call an expert witness. Somebody maybe like myself, a professor of exercise physiology. And they're going to say, hey, professor, this and this and this happened, the trainer did this and this and that. What do you think? And I'll say the trainer was entirely within the right practices to do that. They went through all the right safe and effective techniques. This is a freak accident. It has nothing to do with trainer malpractice. And the defense is going to be like, boom, we got it. And the people suing you are going to be like, oh, I guess we lost this one, right? The court is more likely to rule in your favor. So it's a very good start, but it's not total insurance. So what can you do? Do a real good job, make sure your practice is scientific and safe, and have a waiver, and you're off to a really good legal start. All I have for you guys today. See you next time for the next lecture.